Hello, my name is Toke Washington. I'm a grad student finishing up my master's of Addiction and Recovery Counseling at Liberty University. This project will include a few topics from interpersonal communication, such as communication skills, listening and communicating, forming identities in which we identify ourselves as, and stereotypes that may be included in everyday communication. The overarching goal: helping families and individuals with the communication project. This is developed day by day and step by step. The point of this goal is to ensure that I use all of the learned knowledge that I have achieved in this course to help as many people as I can when dealing with the issues of not being able to communicate or not being able to communicate what they would like to communicate with others. The importance of interpersonal. It influences people to talk and listen. Steward. Communication will always be around, whether we are dead or alive, as communication was here before we were even thought of on the world. Communication involves words, body language, emotions, trust, and other personal things that we may not be comfortable disclosing with others. Peterson. In order to have a successful communication, we must work on our responses, our emotions, and our willingness to be open and respectful, as well as receptive to both positive and negative feedback that other people may give us. In a successful communication, we will often produce positive relationships. If we don't have communication in relationships, there's really no relationship. Some of the background information. Growing up, I would say that my listening skills came from childhood experience, formal training, and being around groups of people who just encouraged me to speak the things that I may not feel comfortable speaking. Burley and Allen. As a child, I was taught to listen and be an active listener, and to talk, as well as to be honest and respectful when speaking to others, especially my elders. Being an active listener and being an active talker has also been important to my professional growth as well as my personal growth. Behavioral blends. The behavioral blend that was specific to me was ICS, which means that I'm more passive than active, while what was expected of me was S, which means that some people think of me as being sensitive and submissive. The S personality is different than my actual personality because I keep my feelings internal. I don't like conflict, and when it involves responding to people as a leader, I sometimes get sensitive, so I kind of step back a little bit because I don't want to step on people's toes, but I also want to give them the correct feedback. As a positive reflection, I'm able to understand how many actions may differ and how they may affect people differently, which allows me just to understand people more. Negatively, sometimes I lack expressing my feelings and giving the necessary feedback because I'm too worried about other people's feelings and how they may respond to me. Communication barriers. Forming my personality and identity, I identify myself as an educated African American female, a Christian, and a hard worker. I'm also shy, loving, and a people person from a distance. Some of the communication barriers that are important to my communication are age, religion, gender, and race. Some people feel that being able to communicate with older people is hard, while others feel that young adults don't really listen and they're not engaged in conversation. I feel that we can learn from both our elders and other young adults. Religion is something that I struggle with because sometimes I don't really know how to approach people from different religions, and I don't want to say anything that may offend them. So if religion is involved, I often stick to generic conversations that they can relate to as well as I can relate to when it comes to my religion. And it's also important to remember that in religion conversations, we can agree to disagree. I have also noticed that being a female, some men are easily intimidated, and they may try to say things that may affect my confidence and get under my skin. In addition to the differences in race, this is a challenge because people may judge me based on my skin color. This is a challenge because I have to remember no matter how nice I am to other people, racism still exists, and I can't change the way other people feel about a female, nor can I change the way that other people feel about an African American. Some of the things that I need to work on in my communication barriers are becoming a public speaker. I've always had a fear of speaking in front of large groups, but I know that it's important for me to overcome this because I may be speaking something that someone could gain knowledge from. Some of the resources and strategies. The Bible is one of the biggest influences in understanding communication. It's a resource that I can always turn to when I have a question about communication, and it's a layout for me to be able to understand the unexplained. Also understanding what communication is, both speaking and not speaking, meaning verbally and non-verbally. It's important to remember that communication can also take place without words. Communication is a way of using words, actions, expressions, nonverbal communications. Stewart also provides important details of the communication process, such as interpersonal cues, strengths of becoming a better communicator and a better listener, which are also awesome resources in the communication project. I need to understand how to place myself in the role of the other person that I'm communicating with. Being a mindful listener and expressing my feelings without using words. I would like to understand my goals and the purpose that I have in life and how I can help other people. My action plan. Step 1. To enter all communications openly and be willing to listen. Step 2. Allow the person who is most upset speak first. Step 3. Listen carefully and effectively. Step 4. Reflect on what was spoken. Step 5. Repeat the important parts of the conversation as a reflection. Step 6. Give a response that will not offend the talker. Step 7. Respond to the conversation while expressing my concerns without being hurtful. Step 8. Take a moment to speak to God so that He can help me understand what I need to understand. Step 9. Encourage communication as openness as long as trust is established. Step 10. Remind myself as well as others that we are all entitled to our opinions. Step 11. Encourage trust to be established. And step 12. Remember faith in God. In conclusion, as a communicator, I want to make sure that I'm always a great and active listener and talker. And lastly, I always need to remember when I feel like giving up, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Philippians 4:13. And I hope that you take away that the communication process is very important, and I hope you all learn something from me. Thanks.